Namaste. Hello, everyone. I'm Ankita Gogoi, Assistant Professor in the Department of Mass Communication, Assam Women's University, Jorhat. I'll be functioning as the moderator for today's webinar session. And I take this opportunity to welcome you all to our today's webinar session with Dr. M.S. Lakshmi Priya, IS, Deputy Commissioner of Bongaigaon District, Shri Pushparaj Singh, IPS, Superintendent of Police, District of Golaghat, and Ms. Aparna Natarajan, IPS, Superintendent of Police, Majuli District, on the topic Women Empowerment and Gender Intolerance, organized by Imagix Creative Studio in association with Assam Women's University. Along with the esteemed panel of speakers that I have just said, we are indeed privileged and honored to be joined by the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Assam Women's University, Professor Malini Goswami. Welcome, ma'am. May I now invite Professor Malini Goswami, ma'am, to give a welcome speech to our listeners and viewers. Namaste, madam, once again. Memor to voice to Hane. Oh, memor speaker to heavy voice anki. There has been a slight technical difficulty with the yes. The microphone or here to icon to hoy icon to microphone or icon to still it's I request our technical team to kindly look into the microphone issue. About Partha question. There's no audio. There's no audio. কি কৈছে ইয়াৰফোন লগাইছে নাই নাই মেমে ইয়াৰফোন লগোৱা নাই May I just add that, like, who better person to actually talk about women empowerment and the whole gender intolerance and thing, because Professor Goswami ma'am is with us, and as the Vice Chancellor of the first women university in Northeast India. And very proficiently and efficient she has been doing and her duties and guiding us through the our students, the faculty members, and taking forward, having a vision for this and actualizing a vision for this university. So it has been a privilege and an honor to have her with us. We are just looking into the technical parts in a few seconds. Hopefully we'll be able to mitigate it. এবার কইছো আসুন new platforms and new avenues, there are always such challenges that we face, but we're trying to mitigate these challenges. We're trying to solve out the problem in a few seconds. Hello. Hello. There's still issue with the audio. There's still certain issues with the audio. We are facing a bit of a technical disturbance right now. I'd request our listeners and viewers to have a bit of patience and excuse us for this slight technical glitch that we are facing. So since there has been a slight technical glitch on the side of the Honorable Vice Chancellor, ma'am, we're moving forward with our today's agenda. I would, delving directly to our today's program, I would like to request and honor her presence in today's webinar, our keynote speaker, Dr. M.S. Lakshmipriya, IAS, Deputy Commissioner of Bongaigaon District of Assam. Welcome, ma'am. for today's seminar.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm Ankita Gogoi from the Department of Mass Communication, Assam Women's University.
Nice to meet you, Ms. Gogoi.
Ma'am, before we delve into today's topic and discuss the heavier stuff on the gender role and gender, women empowerment and gender intolerance, while when we see these words, it feels very heavy and very dark, and we see a bleak future kind of thing. But as being a woman and in your capacity where like if I go through a profile, I'll be saying one by one, like your achievement as a doctor, and then the administrative services, and also an exponent of 25 years of Carnatic music, and that's like the whole you are a combination of a beautiful combination, if I dare may say, of art and science and creativity and the reason coming together and gelling, and this very essence of studying and aiming for higher education, aiming for the civil services, aiming for awards like Scotch and all, and being recognized by the fraternity as someone who has contributed so much to the field of administration. Hailing from Kerala, you have really come forward and made your mark as not only as an administrator, but also as a person who one can look up to. Can we know a bit of your journey, ma'am? We would really love to know about your journey in the capacity of being a woman and in the capacity of gender roles still prevalent in the society, yet you have been able to come forward and reach this excellence of higher education and the administrative services of India. Ma'am, we'd like to know your experiences and the challenges and how did you mitigate them?
So, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Ms. Gogoi, and my fellow speakers, SPs of Golaghat and SP Madhuli, and everybody else who is listening to us now. Good evening to one and all. I was born in Kerala in a district called Kottayam, and my parents were both working. My father was a teacher, and my mother was working in Employees Provident Fund. So you see, in Kerala, we do not have that much of a difference between, a girl child and a boy child. So I never faced it. Actually, I had to get acquainted with this idea of discrimination itself. Actually, I had to learn that there's something called discrimination as I grew up, when I knew about it happening elsewhere, because I never faced it in my house. Or in my house, both my parents were equals, and my brother and I have a younger brother, so my brother and I, we were also equals. So I never knew that something like this existed till I grew up to see that I had to de-learn a lot of the good things that I had already got imbibed in myself. So that was how I started off. Well, I don't have a separate journey as a woman, as a lady. I just have a journey like any other human being does have. I have my biological differences with a man, but otherwise, I think my professional journey has been the same that any other man would have. So I did MBBS from Trivandrum Medical College. I passed out in the year 2011. My father inducted me and my brother into Carnatic music right from our childhood. So we were educated in music mm, from a lot of many doyens of music, including Padma Shri, Neyatingara Vasudevan sir, and Anantalakshmi Venkataraman teacher. They are no more. But the journey with music has always been there, and I'm sure all of you know that we have lost a great man yesterday, S.P. Balasubramanian. Yes, it's a loss that we can't make up. So, we are all heartbroken. Our homage to him in this show. So, music has always been there. Perhaps that has been a helpful factor also, because various challenges with respect to professional life and personal life, they keep coming up, and music has always helped. Then after MBBS, it has been I was in three services. In 2012, I was in Indian Railway Service. In 2013, I was in Indian Audit and Account Service, and in 2014, I got into administrative service, and I came to Assam. So basically, this is the journey. And then after joining here, I was first assistant commissioner in Jorhat. Then I was for a brief period I was in government of India, and then SDO civil Bijni Vilasipara, and then DC in ADC in Dibrugarh, DC in Shipsagar, and now DC in Bongegaon. So as a woman, I don't see that these are any big successes or anything like that as compared to a man. But yes, we have different things to take care of as well. I'm sure many ladies are listening to us now. So, so we have our own challenges in terms of, we have pregnancy, we have childbirth, we have breastfeeding, these kind of things which are uniquely rights of a woman. They are not burdens. These are our rights and these are our opportunities. So we have those golden moments in our lives which a man can only dream about. And I hope all men are dreaming about it so that they can be respectful to women. So, yes, this has been my journey. And yeah, today is International Daughters Day.
Yes.
What a nice coincidence.
Wishes on
Uh,
it, ma'am. Wishes on it, ma'am. Yes, yes, ma'am.
yes, so all of my wishes to all daughters all around the world, and special wishes to my own daughter. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Starting on such a sweet note, and thank you because as you mentioned, S.P. Balasubramji, and like yesterday, my Twitter was abuzz with the all the news coming in, and we're really, really, really heartbroken on that news, and. As you say that like the rights of women, like so beautifully you have put it out, that these are the golden rights of women rather than burden, because when we talk about gender roles, we usually say that the burden of being a woman, but you have said that these are rights, this is how we function. And as being a woman does not necessarily mean that you have to function differently, but rather what you have, what you are, and how you are functioning. Thank you, ma'am, for putting it so very beautifully. Now, coming to today's topic, like women empowerment and gender intolerance, when you talk about, because as you said, that you have to unlearn so many things, and that gender discrimination cannot be denied that there is. All may not face it, but intersectionality, when it comes, there are situations where women have to go through it. So, your views, particularly on this topic, if I may ask you, ma'am. Women
Yes.
empowerment, when it comes to women empowerment and gender intolerance.
Yes, Ankita ji, basically, this concept of gender itself has to be very clear. Gender is not sex. Sex is biological. Biologically, if you have ovaries, you are a biological female. If you have testes, you are a biological male. But gender is what the society attributes to a person. Seeing me, if somebody feels that I am a female, then that is my gender. We must understand that it's actually a spectrum. There are many genders. Now, we mustn't concern ourselves only with women and men. There are many. It's a spectrum, and many times things are not not very clear. It's gray. So,
Mm-hmm.
what we must be talking about ideally should be how we see everybody equal. Now, you are what you are, I am what I am. He or she may be whatever he or she may be. And we shouldn't address somebody with our narrow mindset of what we think gender must be. Now, see, see, we all started off with see, human beings, as we see now, belong to this species. I am sure everybody knows called Homo sapiens.
Yes.
You see, we all started off somewhere in Africa, some 1,60,000 to 90,000 years back. We all started off as human beings, as we call now, as Homo sapiens. So Homo sapiens itself is a species. Now what we are now, Ami Etia J. Asu, we are actually the subspecies called Homo sapiens sapiens. We think that all other Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis have all gone away. So it's just us, anthropology and paleontology. Anthropology, for the knowledge of the listeners, anthropology is study of human beings and paleontology is the study of fossils. So we always trace back to how we started off and what we are now because of our origins. So human beings as Homo sapiens sapiens started off somewhere in Africa, then we went to Europe, Asia, the Americas, etc., etc., and now we are where we are. We evolved over many, many millions of years to become what we are now. Now, just imagine what life would have been then. When life started off in Africa, obviously there was no gender discrimination because everybody had to be there for sustenance, purely sustenance and existence. Then, when we moved ahead, we were all hunter gatherers and foragers. So, everybody, just like how monkeys or some other animals, lions would have fed themselves, we also fed ourselves. Then we developed stones, we made instruments to do, kill and all that. Now when man moved ahead from the hunter gatherer forager to agriculture, when we identified that certain things can be planted from where we can reap certain grains so that we didn't do all the hunting, then started, I believe, this is my own theory, this is how I understand life. So I'm just sharing for the knowledge of everybody who's listening. See, I think that when people started settling down, then came the concept of private property. This is my house, this is my farm, this is where I live, and this place belongs to me. Now, how do you ensure that somebody else doesn't take it away? Whom do you want it to be inherited to when you are no more? When I die, whom do I want all my properties to go to? Till the concept of private property was there, I don't think anybody really cared. When private property started coming up, people started thinking, human beings started thinking about how to give it forward to whom. Now, whom would I prefer? I would prefer my gene to be carried forward to. So then a
The
man started,
ownership.
yes, the
Yeah.
ownership. How will you, the private ownership? So then, how will you ensure that my gene is getting what I have made? Now I'll ensure that the woman in my house is kept in my house. So then my genetic lineage is the one that goes on and on and on. So I believe that that is how this concept of woman belonging to somebody, objectifying a woman, and woman being treated as a property all came up. Because otherwise, just imagine, why would these archaic systems of, say, sati,
Yes.
why would a lady happily jump into the pyre of her dead husband, whereas we do not see many dead husbands doing it, and the society not wanting many men to do it? Now, why did the society want women to do it? Even now, we see many women not being seen as worthy enough to wear a bindi if the husband dies, not wearing bangles. And there are, I believe, some places even now where they forcefully make the woman remove the bangles, take away the
Shaving their head.
sindoor, yeah, shave their heads, remove the sindoor, force her to wear bland clothes, and force her to be sitting inside the house, not come out and express herself. So why is it happening to a woman? That's, I believe, it all started off with conservation of property. Now, but you see, my understanding is that woman and man, they are not different. They may do things differently. The ends, the where we end up, what we end up making will be the same thing. Professionally, I'm also a DC. My colleague in my next district is also a DC, where he is a man, I am a woman. There's no difference. We both attain our administrative goals, but perhaps we attain it differently. Now, my own journey I can understand. Before being married, before having a daughter, I was a different person. Now, after having gone through whatever I went through, I have become a different person. But then that's my personal journey. Now, that may add to the way I look at things, the way I handle things. maybe I have a different approach to doing something that my fellow male officer would also do in his own way. I may have gone through a few more, what you say, challenges in terms of my health, because I would have had to bear a baby, give birth to her, and breastfeed her, take care of her nutrition for a while. So that's a different journey, but it doesn't make it an inferior one or a superior one. If I would like to believe it's a superior one, but yeah, there is no difference between a man and a woman. Yes, but we must acknowledge that this has been happening over centuries, where women are forced to be. They call women fairer sex, but I don't think they really think it's fair. I
But
don't think it's
itself,
fair.
the word fairer itself is problematic. The word fairer
Yes.
itself is problematic.
Yes, that we don't have to be fairer. What's
Yes.
in being fair? Yeah, forget it. We don't want to be fair. We just want to be human beings. That's it. Fair or dark or that doesn't matter. We are just what we are. Come on. We have different things biologically. You have things biologically. We have our set of emotions. We have our hormones. You handle your hormones in a way. See, can you imagine that snakes, harp, Jacoy? They used to
Mhm.
have legs at one point of time in
One was the
evolution.
vampire.
Yeah, they lost it because
Seriously,
they can you imagine a snake walking and coming? No, because because they lost it as part of the evolution. In the same way, men would have lost that. Whatever those soft feelings are that are attributed to women usually, because they in their journey of evolution, they never needed it. See,
socialization or a role aseniki. Socialization, maybe the way they have socialized or socializations, gender socialization, maybe how, because we say that Laura hole truckere khelibo die, swali hole putola ani die. But tene dhornor
yes,
mane how these
yes,
things work.
true, true, true. When children are very young, what we do is we usually buy pink colored things for our
Yes,
girls,
yes,
and we
yes,
go for
yes.
blue colored things for the boys. I don't know from where all this has come. Come up. They're all colors, for God's sake. Why is why is everybody so obsessed about it? You go for yellow, or you go for anything, and
Many
then you
colors.
come. Yes, all colors, and in our lifetime we can't even understand how many colors are there in this universe. We don't even, for God's sake, know from where we have all come up. We still go back to this big big bang.
Bang, bang theory. Yes, 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 ma'am.
Yes, yes, sir. So yes, socialization is a very important concept in it, because you say, for example, you go into a household, and you find that in many houses the men are fed first. the
Yes,
best the best food, the best parts of the meat are reserved for the men, where many mothers end up eating. Mothers, not just women, mothers, they end up eating just nothing, basically gruel and some salt in many households. To what happens because of that is the mother that becomes malnourished, the child becomes malnourished, then it's a vicious cycle. You see, the girl child is malnourished, the teenager is malnourished, again she gives birth to a low birth weight child, so it's a vicious cycle. Instead of feeding her the best part of it, the society reserves the best part of it for the man, unfortunately. And you see, as a medical student, when there's a science called osteology. Osteology is the science of bones. So, in our first year, when as medical students we are introduced to the science of anatomy. Anatomy is what we are made of, basically the hardware. So we do this dissection of a dead body. In fact, that dead body, that carcass, is our first teacher, and with lot of respect and reverence, I remember the man who lay in front of us as a teacher for us to learn. We held his heart, his brain in our hands, imagining what it would have been when he was alive. So, when we in osteology, we are given a bone. See, this bone, I'm sure all of you know, is humerus. Then we have a long, big thigh bone called femur.
Shima.
So, Yeah. So we are given a humerus and we are asked to find out, tell in our viva whether it belongs to a man or a woman. See, it's just anatomy. It's the way it's the way nature made us, part of evolution. Basically, we are asked to check for the markings made by the muscle attachments, because a man's muscles are expected. They are by evolution bigger, they are thicker, and they are stronger. So the markings made by them on the humerus, the bone itself, is going to be strong. But then I have also seen humeruses of certain men, uh, which are as big as femurs of certain women. So that's the
Okay.
difference. So, so that's just biology, basically. It's us. We create all this in our brains. We think, even women, for that matter, because when we are born into this society, we start acting. We start acting the way we are expected to. So we get approvals of everybody. Yeah, isn't it? So we get
Yes, yes.
approvals of everybody. So it's generally expected that girls have longer hair.
Mhm.
Why do you and I, why do we wear the bindi, whereas we don't
Mhm.
see many men wearing it? So
Mhm.
somewhere in our subconscious, we are tuned into that.
That
But
internalized
yes,
the teachings, the internalized gender roles. That this is how,
yes.
if you're identifying as women, you behave in a certain way. If you're identifying as a man in the gender spectrum, you behave in a certain way.
Yes, true, true, so true. The only thing is that you wear what you want to wear. You wear a sari or you wear a jeans or whatever you wear, but ultimately in your heart, in your soul, you must not think that this is what you are. Tomorrow, you must not hesitate to remove your
Mhm.
bindi, or you cut your
Mhm.
hair short, or you say, if even if you say, when you see somebody who is so called transgender, you must learn to respect them like the way you expect yourself to be respected. Now, if you think that মানে তেখেতে বেয়া বলে আপনি যদি ভাবে, then something's
Uh-huh.
definitely wrong with you. Now,
Mhm.
that's where we have to make the differences. Now, see,
Mhm.
professionally, I find no difference, and that perhaps is because I am in Assam, because the society of Assam is more egalitarian, and it
Mhm.
gives a lot of respect for women. I think it's the same story in entire Northeast. And even for us in administration, in administrative services, I have never found any male officer given any more importance than I am. And I have not hit a glass ceiling. And to be honest, I have not seen any female officer hit a glass ceiling, at least in Assam. Our Honorable Chief Minister and Chief Secretary, sir, they are all very, very encouraging. I know umpteen number of lady officers who come back to join, their service after giving birth to the children, and then, as I told you earlier, these rights, human rights extended to
Human
women's
rights.
rights, yes, these
Mhm.
are respected, much respected, and we are seen with much reverence. That boosts our own confidence, basically.
Mhm. Ma'am, from what you have said, I'll pick up 2 or 3 points, and basically the whole concept of ownership and the private ownership, and then keeping women confined and holding on to her. Now we see how the NCRB has done their, like, every year they bring up their crime records and everything. So since 2016, 17, 18, meager, maybe 1.3%, but there has been a steady rise of crime against women, according to records. And so what like the and specifically, I'd like to mention here that domestic violence in 2018 NCRB records have it's at the top most crime against women. So a woman is not feeling safe at home itself, a home where it should be the safest place for her. So I would like to put forward to you that this increase in the rate of crime, and how safe are Indian women as in the administration, as we have seen and going through the workings of, and I'm so happy that we said in Northeast and Assam that we have comparatively found it very like safer. As for other comparisons, I won't bring up here. It will be controversial. But anyways, in that Assam itself, you have said that it's quite safer. But in general, if we were to ask that why these rates, or why do you think the rates are increasing, and how to mitigate them, how to face them, and how safe is the country for women?
See, basically, women are taught, as we discussed earlier. There are gender stereotyping. Say, for example, my mother is a better cook. Let me put it that way. My mother is a better cook, but I'm sure that's because my father never tried to cook. So he was never oriented to that path. He would cook only when it was necessary. When my mother was not available for some reason, then he would try cooking, but otherwise he wouldn't. So that's because, despite being a fact that he is an educated man, and my mother is also an educated woman, still that stereotyping is already there. And see, inside the four walls of a house, the woman is expected, she is tutored in such a way right from the time she is born. This is basically true mostly for the mediocrity. If you look for the ones who are highly educated, if you look for the ones who are not educated, then you find more equality. When you are, it's like half baked. You don't know which is better there also. You don't know which is better here also. What society leads you into, say, for example, the practice of dowry. Now, it's not there in Northeast as much as it is there in my state, which is highly educated, Kerala. We have the best health standards and education standards, but we still have the concept of dowry. You see, so then that becomes ingrained in people's minds. So when inside the four walls of a house, a woman is expected to behave womanly in a womanly fashion, and a man is excused for many times for not behaving more responsibly and in a more civilized fashion, because it's not seen outside. Till the time we look into our own houses, we all feel we are very progressive. Once we
That hits hard. That's hit hard. That's quite true. Quite true.
yeah, let's be open to that introspection and correct ourselves as we live ahead. So that's the reason why crime rate is increasing, because you know that your wife is not going to talk about it unless and until she hits rock bottom. There are many times when women, you look at the number of suicides. You don't
That's
find,
another issue.
yes, because you just don't know how to express it. You don't know whom to talk to, and you don't know how you're going to be taken. You're worried about your, even honor of your father. As a married woman, you're worried about the honor of your father, how he is going to be treated by the society. So you don't want to talk about your broken marriage. So instead, you rather take a hit or two. And there are many men who feel that maybe you can hit her right. You hit her, and then she'll become right. So these things are actually there in many people's. If you will remember the interview that one of the accused of the Delhi gang rape had
Yes,
given,
yes.
yes, when he was in the jail, he said that, see, I know many men who have raped a lot of women. They have, the first thing they do is gouge out the eyes of the girl so she doesn't see you, and you simply finish her off. Now the mistake that we did is that we left her alive. So that's so deeply ingrained in his psyche, that what the mistake he did was not raping her. The mistake that he and his friends did was to leave
Rather
her.
leaving her
Yes,
alive.
leave. Yes, that's how deeply ingrained this concept is in the society, and it's so dangerously ingrained. I understand, as the mother of a girl child, that In fact, I was thinking during the course of today's many wishes of International Daughters Day and all that, I was wondering how many mothers would be, in fact, many fathers also would be, how many people would be deeply, deeply worried about possibilities of harassment that their daughters may have to go through in their
Mm-hmm.
life, and whether they will be able to open up about it anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us have gone through. See, you see, I have, as a teenager, I have seen once when I was walking in a road with one of my other friends, we saw a man who was just walking against us calmly, but he was, what is called exhibitionism. He was
Yeah.
showing off his genitalia. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I felt it was just weird. Why would he show off his genitalia? But then, yeah, that gave him his happiness. Now, at
Mm-hmm.
that time, as a teenager, I didn't feel it was relevant to talk about it to anybody
Mm-hmm.
because it just didn't affect me. But I'm sure, but my friend was affected. Now, for many
Okay.
days, she continuously discussed about it with me. She was affected. She was scared that, he may rape us. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't spoken about it to my parents till now.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt it threatened me, but there are people who feel threatened about it, and it is something that you have to feel threatened about, because one may never know what kind of things such psychotic behaviors may bring about. Now, he
Mm-hmm.
may be a good man, he may have been a good man, but something is wired wrong in his mind. See, that's where the relevance of education comes up. That's where the relevance of basic health care comes up. When you have a basic good health care, then people live longer, they live more healthy. So children attend school. So if your education system is good enough, you see the education system in Finland, that is
Mm-hmm.
all encompassing. Girls and boys are not different. A child with Down syndrome is not different. He sits with the same class, with the same group of students, and he has a different curriculum to follow. But then the same teacher teaches them. So you treat everybody equally. In such countries like the Scandinavian countries are where the crime rates are least, where
Yes.
there is much more equality. That's
Mm-hmm.
because in your childhood itself, you are wired in such a way as to think that everybody is the same. There's no difference between a girl and a boy, or a differently abled or a transgender. Basically, that's the reason, because we don't have it. That's why our women suffer. That's why the struggles of women are much more inside the houses. And I'm sure in these times of COVID, when everybody has been inside the houses, women would have gone through even more struggles, because they have been in there, they're stuck there.
Ma'am, as you were saying about transgender, actually there was a question, audience question regarding transgender. A student from Hibahagor College, Juganto Bora. Juganto Bora. So transgender, like, what are the provisions, legal and administrative provisions, and as a state, as the Indian state, what are the provisions along with the transgender bill that has come up, that has been tabled and everything? So what do you have, or would you like to say anything about the transgender bills, or the provisions the state has provided to the transgender community?
See, Bora, I'm happy that you have asked such a relevant question, and also that you are from Shivsagar College. I have visited the college many times as DC Shivsagar. Hopefully, we have met sometime. You see, transgenders, they their life is, as I see, not easy. When you see somebody who is on the street, or on the train, while you're traveling in the train, if some transgender people come across, or somebody is seen as clapping and asking you to pay, or some people end up doing things like they call them to bless their newborn child, etc. You are creating a different ecosystem for them. in the society. The transgender bill clearly um, uh, designates all officers, especially district level officers and state level officers, as custodians of the rights of transgenders by way of providing them equal treatment in every aspect. Now, that's the responsibility of the state and the district administration. So, see, when one of our transgender friends had COVID, had turned out to be COVID positive. In fact, two of them. So we had a detailed discussion with the chairman of the committee at the state level, and we had chalked out a special program for them by which they would feel comfortable. So we didn't put them with either, we didn't. Designate them as a special category or anything like that. Whatever it is that they wanted, we gave them their privacy. We gave them whatever kinds of other facilities it is that they wanted. In fact, our transgender community in Bongegaon, they have come up with a, special program of skill development of transgenders who are interested. So we totally support them. We see them as human beings with all basic human rights as any other human being in this universe has. So there is no difference, and the transgender bill also empowers us to do the same. It's actually strange that we need a bill. They are just other human beings, so it's strangely enough we are in need of such bills. But anyway, it empowers us. Basically, that's what the bill does.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, another question, audience question, Suman Kumari Mahato from Bongaigaon College, from your district itself. So she has asked, do you think gender discrimination helps reduce the female crime rate? If gender equality is to be achieved, will it help in narrowing down the crime rate? The first question. This is her first question.
I didn't actually. So, Suman, thank you very much, and I'm happy that you are from Bongegaon College. We'll meet soon. But I didn't actually get the import of the question. So, is she trying to ask if gender equality will bring down the?
Ma'am, that's the basic gist. That is the basic gist. That will gender equality, reaching gender equality, will actually help in mitigating crime rates against women.
Yes, Suman, yes, definitely. See, it is like this. See, if it just compare the crimes that would happen if two men were staying together as compared to what a woman and a man are staying together. So, since the men treat themselves as equals, I'm sure the crime rate would be less. Yes, it's an aspirational thing as of now. Gender equality is an aspirational thing. But then you see, Suman, we live in a world where uh, New Zealand's Prime Minister is a woman. And Jacinda Ardern has won accolades all across the world for her best, handling of the COVID
The
situation. So,
COVID-19
yes.
situation.
Yes. So, yes, gender equality, yes, that is what we must have. And only then, and perhaps that's the only way in which we can go forward, not only in crime rates, but in our general lives.
Ma'am, her very very precise and kind of a GK question that she has put up as another question is that is there any effect, visible effect of women empowerment, and wants to know if you're aware of any company solely like they have started by women, run by women, and or women are in the highest position like CEO, because we know PepsiCo Indra Nooyi was there, and so she has asked that. Like if
So,
the effect of women empowerment, visible effect of women empowerment.
so Suman has asked this.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Suman,
This is the second
so,
question.
so Suman, your own DC is the visible effect of women empowerment. I wouldn't have been here had there not been women empowerment, isn't it? So are all other women collectors all around the country. There are many organizations that are started up by women and run by women. I'll tell you about one, about with whom we'll be collaborating in Bongegaon soon. It's called WOW. Basically, it's a short form of Women on Wheels. So it's an organization which is started off by a lady in Rajasthan, in Jaipur. So she trains women in driving, basically. So all kinds of vehicles. So we are planning to get, and you know that in Bongega we have this pink auto rickshaw, which is run by women, again stereotyped with the color, but then it is driven by women. So in the same way, this organization also trains women in driving, in trains women in driving, and they ensure that they get some vehicle and they have a livelihood. So that's just one example. There are umpteen number of examples. I said the Prime Minister of New Zealand, the Chancellor of Germany, there are lot of women, and yes, there are many things that are aspirational, but I'm sure that we'll have many more women, names of many more women coming up in future, including yours.
Thank you, ma'am, for the bright future for the wishes of the bright future for Suman. There's another question by Korobi Dowry from BLB College, Hibohagar. We are getting a lot of questions from where you have talked. She has been asking, like, the aspirations or the elder girl child of a family, the aspirations that are put on her, and many at times due to the gender roles that you have already spoken about. যে নিজৰ ইচ্ছা নথকাকে কিছুমান steps ল'ব লাগে বা কিছুমান তেখেতে লিখিছে বিবাহত বহিব লগা পৰে বা নিজৰ বেলেগৰ কথা চিন্তা কৰিব লাগে নিজৰ ভাই ভণ্টি তেওঁলোকৰ কথা বিকজ ঘৰৰ ডাঙৰ ছোৱালীৰ দায়িত্ব বুলি কৈ মেলি তেওঁলোকক সেইখিনি she has to keep her wishes at her heart and rather than look towards the wishes of the other family members. So what are the ways that that an elder girl child can actualize her dreams in spite of this duties and responsibilities that are asked from her?
So Purabi, thanking you for putting up this very relevant question, because this is the reality. Jimane ami kom enaka nai equality ase, মানে woman আৰু men মাজত কোনো ধৰণৰ difference নাই এনেকৈ যদি কম, then it is actually not true. Reality is what Purabi has asked. See, what you must do, Purabi, is that you must never let the fire die down. See, women are like phoenix birds. We can burn ourselves down, but then come up from the ashes. See, once Purabi will get married and have a child, then she will understand the meaning of this better. You know why? Because when you become pregnant, when you give birth to a child, and then you breastfeed the child and make the child an independent entity, by then you would have already undergone so many changes that you would have never conceived in your lifetime. But then you come back. You come back with a new vigor, a new understanding, a new calm, a new happiness in your life. So, Purabi, my point is that even if for many reasons, बहुत कारण होबो पारे निश्चय आसे elder girl child or क्षेत्रत আপোনাৰ ফ্যামিলিৰ গৌৰৱৰ কথা আছে, আপোনাৰ দেউতাৰ গৌৰৱৰ কথা আছে, এনেকুৱা বহুত কথা থাকিব নিশ্চয়। কিন্তু যদিও আপুনি এইবিলাকৰ কাৰণে বিয়া পাতিব বা বেলেগ কিবা মানে হোৱাট এভাৰ আপোনাৰ কম্পালশ্যনছ যে আছে এইটো যদিও আপুনি কৰিব, ইউ মাষ্ট নেভাৰ লুজ ইয়ৰ হাৰ্ট। আপোনাৰ ভিতৰত যে ফায়াৰ আছে, যে এস্পিৰেশ্যন আছে, এইটো আপুনি জীয়া ৰাখিব লাগিব। এইটো লৈ পেলাই আপুনি সদায় কাম কৰি থাকিব লাগিব। See, my mother in the age of I think 55 took her husband with her and went to the law college and did LLB and became a lawyer, and both of them got themselves enrolled. So nothing is impossible. She is from a farmer family. Both her parents were farmers, so anything is possible if you really want to do it. So Purabi, apuni apunar bhitrat je fire ase, je fire karone apuni he question etia mok khudise, he fire apuni jia rakhibo, then you will definitely reach where you have to reach. And then yeah, we all are here, like your what you say, elder sister, or like a friend, we are always there to help you out should you think our help is needed anytime.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there's a general question like many have put up, like from your perspective as an administrator, in few points, like to the direct, that now we can ekhini ami korbo paru to remove the gender intolerance. So, uh, practical steps or practical points that you would like to tell our viewers that which we can follow in order to mitigate or not remove, but at least try to remove the gender intolerance.
First thing is you try to understand what it is. That's the meaning of education. As a grown up person, you must first try to understand that this exists, acknowledge it, and then train your mind in such a way that you can start it from home. Koro pora arambo koro. Don't go the other way. Like what we were telling earlier, jodi ami nijor korot sam, then we'll understand how much of difference actually exists. So you start off from your house. If you are a man, you treat your sister as your equal. Don't think that she is somebody who has to be covered up nicely and taken care of, and you allow her to do what she wants to do. So give her the wings that she deserves. So start off from home. If you have a daughter and a son, treat both of them in the same way, and allow them to pursue their dreams in the ways they want to. If you are a woman, then you pursue your own dreams so that you get equality. Now, see, other things I will tell you. Uh, Give respect to women in public platforms. Say, for example, you are traveling by a bus, you are sitting, and a pregnant lady is standing. Offer the seat to her. Show her the respect that she deserves. A lady with a child is standing. Show her the respect that she deserves. Let her sit. Another thing that all of men can train themselves in is stop staring.
Thank you so much for putting this on the platform.
Stop staring at people. Everybody is just a human being.
And
Like
can
for
you add
example,
the concept of eve teasing to it? Also, the concept,
yes, yes.
the whole idea of eve teasing.
Yes, I appreciate that, women are too, it's just irresistible because we are too good, we are too pretty, we are too attractive. I understand that, yes, but then, yeah, respect. Respect is the most important thing. You respect us first, forget about Eve teasing. There is no Adam and Eve situation now. So, no, there is no big Adam who is, good enough to be teasing anybody, no Eve teasing. That's a total no. Bring up our boys in such a way that you respect women. Say, for example, a mother who has a breastfeeding child. Now, where will she sit? Where will she sit down with some privacy to feed her child? Now, in our offices here, I'm putting up. When I was DC Sipsagar, I have made a comfort room for women there. The same way here also we are doing. So, those kind of practical things. See, I'll tell you, the other day in my district in Bongaigaon, a lady who was mentally challenged, she was found on the roads without clothes. So we would expect that, listening to all the bad things that we are forced to listen to every day, we would expect that somebody would have raped her or groped her or done something to her. But instead, what happened is two young men, they came with some clothes, covered her up, and brought her to us so that we could take care of her. And she is in our one-stop center now. So, this is how you must train your minds in. Even you see, when girls after eighth, why there is a lot of dropouts in schools, in the higher classes, especially for girls, because many parents feel that it is not safe to let their girls go to school, that somebody may take them away or something may happen, that they may not return back home in a safe way. So it's as society, it's our responsibility as an educated group of people to ensure that we give the security that our women, our girl children deserve. Only then can we think, even conceive about gender equality. Now we talk about all this, and when finally it comes to your own marriage, you want to get some dowry. Now, then you're a failed concept. Then there is no point in talking about equality and everything. Now, you don't treat yourself as equal with a woman. You don't want to welcome the woman you liked your life as your equal, but you would also like her father to spend some money in such a way that he pays you for keeping her in your life. Now, then that's a broken concept. Now, start from your own self. Start from your own self. Then you can go to the society. Now, that's the way it will work, I feel.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, another question from Bhagyoshri Soikia, GIMT Guwahati. This is from a Guwahati student. So, is gender difference linked to employment barriers for youth? Is gender differences and gender intolerance is linked to the employment barriers for youth and some factors that inhibit women's participation in an organization? Since you have said that you personally have not felt that glass ceiling, but can we totally deny or negate the possibility of the presence of a glass ceiling? So if there is, how to tackle it?
We can't deny that it exists. We can't deny, just like how we say caste exists. We would all like to live in a casteless society where everyone is an equal. But caste exists, and we must acknowledge it in order to fight it. In the same way, gender inequality exists, and glass ceilings exist in various organizations, in various forms. Now, you see, women take maternity leave. Now, I have heard references in not so civilized ways regarding women who are absent from work for quite a long time because they take maternity leave. But then, yes, we are on the way of fighting against it. I have taken maternity leave. My fellow mothers have taken maternity leave, and we respect them. Now, I totally understand that it may not be the case everywhere. It has a lot of differences are there in certain fields where men are preferred for reasons that we have been discussing about since the beginning of our discussion today. For the major patriarchal society who would prefer men over women, who think that men were maybe better leaders than women. Now, that concept is slowly and steadily changing. And I'm sure in the coming days, it will change. But, basically, I want to tell all the women here not to lose your heart, come what may. Don't lose your heart. Whatever may be the kind of discrimination that the world is showing against you, I'm hoping that you are not a victim of that. But if it has been happening, don't lose your heart, because I know young boys have faced a lot of discrimination, a lot of harassment in their childhood that they are not able to talk about even when they are grown up. So harassment, discrimination is there in all fields, in all kinds of differences. The issue is that many of us are not able to accept differences. We are not able to accept that that person is different and he is okay, and she is different and she is okay. We think that people who are like us are the good ones. Now, that's a mistake. I'm sure that is happening in many fields with respect to employment also. But yes, we are in the see, Hima Das is the one who brought us laurels, isn't it? Rima Das is the one we are proud of. So yeah, they are all girls. Yes, they are girls. They are women. They are our representatives. So they have done it. They have broken all kinds of glass ceilings. They have reached where they have reached. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do it.
That's one very good point to live by. Let's go ahead and do it. Just do it. We have to yes. Move forward and do it.
Yes.
And there's another final question. A student from Onkumoni Mess, Bikali College, Thukdhara, and she has asked that ita কর্মক্ষেত্ৰত যাব হলে বা আজিৰ যুগত বহু মহিলা ঘৰৰ বাহিৰত ওলাই যাব লগা হয় the very concept of feeling unsafe to travel abroad আৰু আমাকো বহুত আগতে কোৱাইছিল যেতিয়া জাৰ্নালিজম পঢ়িব গৈছো ৰাতি ৰাতি ওলাই যাবি core news bisari furibi. These kind of things that, the onus is on the women to protect herself or feel safe. But in this situation, how do we tackle the fear? How do we tackle the prevailing unsafe situations that we may come across?
So, Ankumani, very relevant question. Uh, we know that many challenges that women face, they actually exist. They are not imaginary. We see many people, many women affected. I told you about my own example as a teenager. I saw somebody exhibiting his genitalia. At that time, I didn't understand why he was doing that. And I am sure many girls have gone through a lot of episodes, such episodes, worse things. So let's be oriented that such things they are a reality and it is happening. Now, what we must do to keep ourselves safe is first ensure that the people around us, no, practically, what I would, perhaps, discuss with my friends, a friend who is maybe traveling alone. I have a friend who keeps traveling alone. She uh, carries a pepper spray. So you see, I'm not advocating that you must carry a pepper spray. I am using the pepper spray as an analogy. You must be sure that you will be able to tackle a situation should it go bad. So you must have the support systems clear in your mind. Don't be oblivious to the facts that dangers exist. Though everything on a woman's day on March 8th, it's like the entire world is so good. Everybody is wishing you. The Facebook and Twitter is so buzzing with all kinds of women related messages that women are great, that and this mother, goddess, and whatnot. But at the end of the day, when March 9th comes, then you forget that a March 8th existed. So yeah, Ankumani, let's first of all build our own defenses. Be clear about what's safe and how to make the unsafe things safe for us. We must have support systems. Say, for example, if you are traveling alone, if you are in an Uber or an Ola, then you must pass on your coordinates to somebody who is known to you. I would expect my daughter to do that. I would like her to travel. I would like her to explore. I would like her to take her own journey out there. But as her mother, as her friend, I would like her to, keep me informed that she's fine. So I wouldn't like her to be, lost. Not because I would like to keep her within my control or anything like that, but I fear that things may happen. So every woman, every girl child, every lady uh, has to keep all their safety possibilities clear in their head. But yes, don't stop yourself from traveling. Never do that. Rabindranath Tagore, I'm sure you know, told that you see more into yourself as you travel more. You must travel. If you don't travel, it's like all the pages of your book are not read. So go ahead, travel, but keep all your safety options open.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, so much for these jewels of knowledge that you have given us, and the inspiration to really, again, going back to the words. Let's do this. Let's really move forward and tackle this issue, like, through the catching its horns and doing it. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us today. And we'd just like to have your final words on this session, and how you have liked this session. What are your views of being with us today, and your final words to the viewers that are watching us right now?
Okay, Ankita ji, I first of all thank you and the entire team for having given me an opportunity to interact with all these fine ladies and gentlemen and others who have been watching. With due respect to everybody, I have, I'm sure all of you have heard of this great lady called Maya Angelou. She
Yes.
wrote her autobiography, which she called "I Know Why the Caged Bird
Birds
Sings."
sing.
Just the name itself, it has such depth. I know why the caged bird sings. See, who would know why the caged bird would sing? Only the caged bird herself will know why it sings, isn't it? As somebody standing from outside can only hear the voice and say that it is so beautiful. But then, yeah, it's inside a cage. Come on. It is you all would have heard that even if the cage is golden, it's still a cage. So remember Maya Angelou all throughout our lives. She said, I know why the caged bird sings. As a lady, I know why that caged bird sings. And I know, I am sure Ankita ji knows, I'm sure each of the ladies who have been listening to this program and otherwise, they all know why the caged bird sings. We are caged, but we sing. Now, let's break open the cage. Let's come outside. Let's spread our wings. Nothing's going to stop us. Let's sing our song in the free sky and forget the cage. This is what I desire for the world to be. This is what I desire myself to be, and this is what I desire for everybody else to be, so that we are one free world. You must have heard, heal the world, make it a better place, isn't it? It's Michael Jackson. I want all of you to listen to this John Lennon song, Imagine.
Okay.
Imagine. So, imagine no heaven. It's easy if you try, and no hell below us. So, it can make the world a more livable place. Basically, that's what I desire for the entire world to be. I thank everybody once again. Ankita ji, thank you for this wonderful session and for being such a nice and beautiful host. I am hoping that we'll meet again. Thank you,
Thank,
one and all. All
thank
the
you,
best.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the inspiration. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, friends, moving forward, I've just been informed that Shri Pushparaj Singh, IPS, and Superintendent of Police, Golaghat District, have to go to had to attend to a really important occasion. So he won't. He'll be trying to join us later. But moving on, I would next request our keynote speaker, Ms. Aparna Natarajan, IPS, Superintendent of Police, Majuli District of Assam. Uh, Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the session.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I'm just trying to start my camera. Just a second. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Hello. I'm Ankita Gogoi from Assam Women's University. Welcome, ma'am, once again.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us today. Because the very way I was saying that Ms. Aparna Natarajan, IPS, that itself gives a very inspiration to the so many listeners and viewers out there, and who maybe are trying to really grasp into, as a woman, grasp into being in the civil services, being and seeing you as a lawmaker, and seeing you in that position, seeing someone in that where they can actually make decisions and call the shots. Ma'am, we would like to know your journey in very few sentences. Why and how did you feel that you are going to tackle this? You are going to tackle IPS, and now you are here today. So maybe your story will bring hope and inspiration to so many aspirants out there.
Yes, yes. I am presently posted as a Superintendent of Police, Majuli. It's a very beautiful district. It's a very, very beautiful place. And I'm basically from Kerala. I'm an engineer. I did my post-graduation. I'm from National Institute of Industrial Engineering, MBA. Then I worked for 5 years in the private sector. And post that, I belong to the 2014 batch of the Indian Police Service. So it's been I've been 6 years in Assam. It's a very beautiful place. It's been a beautiful journey so far. And yeah.
Ma'am, you like as a lawmaker, as someone who is enforcing the law, you in that position, and today's topic, women empowerment and gender intolerance. When we're talking, ma'am, from your perspective, we would like to know your views, your general views, or your basic views on the issue of today's webinar.
Yeah. So as an enforcer of the law, we come across people from all strata of society, belonging to, I mean, all the genders. So, I mean, this is a topic which is very, very important and something which is really, really close to my heart. And something that I think is a very, very important conversation to have. Because almost 50%, I think around 52% of the world population is female. So unless the empowerment of more than half of the population is there, we really cannot talk about progress of a society, progress of the country, the progress of progress globally as a whole. So I mean, for me, empowerment is providing access to all kinds of opportunities, all kinds of resources, and not being disadvantaged because of your gender, because that is something that you did not decide, right? So be it is an accident of birth, be you are a male, you are a female, you are any other gender in between, it is an accident of birth. So it is something that you should have access and the opportunity to decide your own, make your own decisions, have your own self-worth, be able to be what you are, and still get all the opportunities and progress in life. So that is something which is very, very important. And one thing that I would like to say is that we've come a very, very long way. I mean, it's a pleasure talking to you, Ankita ma'am. I mean, so it's a very long journey that we have undergone. I mean, 50, 60 years back, this is something that probably could not be imagined. We have women in every field of society now. We have women participating, not just participating, excelling in every field. Like close home, we have, if you take sports, Hima Das is there. There's so many other women athletes. Mary Kom is there. You take science, you know, the Rocket Woman of India. You take the Chandrayaan mission, you take the Mars mission. There are women in science. You take Geeta Gopinath, she's the first woman economist of the IMF. So, in fact, it's a very proud thing for me to say that this batch of the IPS officers who passed out of the National Police Academy, the best trainee was adjudged to be a woman who led the parade. So this is a very, very proud moment. So having said that, we really have a long way to go. I mean, we should not take comfort in the fact that we have progressed so much. It is indeed a step in the right direction, but there are several visible and invisible so-called glass ceilings, which we still need to break. And but we need to take comfort in the fact that we have progressed so much, and we need to keep the momentum going. And unless and until we do that, I think, I mean, something like a gender equality is a very, very fundamental human right. There should not even be a question of, you know, is this much necessary or is that much necessary? It's something that should be given without asking. I mean, every person is equal, and every person's self-worth cannot be adjudged because of an accident of birth.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I'll take your words and I'll say that the access that you said, that the access, the right to access of like whatever we want from any gender spectrum, actually, because our prior speakers already said that why just confine to women, or why just confine to men and women, the talk of men and women. The entire gender spectrum can come into it, and that the right to access whatever we want to, be it education, basic human rights, and so on and so forth. But in doing this, in pursuing this access, specifically since today's seminar, we have to, when we talk about women's safety, you being in the capacity of the law enforcer, what are your views, practical points that needs to be kept into mind when we talk about women's safety in the country? And as a woman, how do we go about it? How do we feel ourselves safe in doing so?
Okay, so you asked me as a law enforcer, but I would like to expand the spectrum and say that rather than looking at safety from just a legal point of view, safety can mean a lot of things. So it can be something like the physical safety, which is very, very important. It can be something which can be your financial security. It can be, so how do you achieve these different things? Now, one thing is just with the laws, just with the legal aspects, it is very difficult to ensure that safety and security is achieved. It requires a change of mindset of the society. Yes, laws are very important, and we have very, very stringent laws. The laws are being very well enforced, and there are always lacuna. That is, unless the lacunae are always identified and rectified, there can be no real progress that is made. So there are always lacuna, but we are on a path of making increasingly progressive laws, increasingly progressive women-centric laws, and the enforcers are also being sensitized in terms of gender. Like especially if I can talk about Assam, we have our new Moitri police stations, in which there is a separate room that is dedicated to women and children. So any crime against women and children, so it is specifically dealt, and there are scientific aids of investigation. There is gender specific training that is given to the cutting edge level staff to ensure that the victims are dealt in the proper manner. Now, having said that, because you said about access, the access to education is very important. Access to financial independence is very important, and self-reliance is very, very important. So the onus of ensuring the safety of women is not just on the women, is not just on the law enforcers. It is on every citizen of the country. There are a plethora of laws, but the laws come into function, let's say after the crime has been committed, or to act as a deterrent effect to stop the crime from being committed. But there are a lot of things that happen within the four walls of the house, right? There is domestic violence that happens. There are lots of abuse. It need not be just sexual abuse. It could be physical abuse. It could be emotional abuse. It could be financial abuse that happens within the four walls of the house. So now, how do we rectify this? So what I would practically like to say is, if you, a lot of the audience, I'm assuming, is quite young. So you should never be afraid to stand up for what is right. The women should be very confident, and you should always know how to raise your voice. Suppose you are facing any difficulty, you should approach the police, and there will be every step of assistance that will be extended to you. So in these times, even we have a victim-centric approach in terms of counseling is provided. There are one-stop centers in every district to keep the victims of crime, the women victims of crime. The helpline numbers are there. The Sakhi helpline number is there. So people should be aware, and they should be confident, and they should know their rights. And at the same time, this is only the legal aspect. One thing I would like to point out, because you said about safety, now we are talking to each other because of the internet and because of technology. But at the same time, there is a lot of abuse that happens in the cyberspace. I mean, because we deal with this on a daily basis. We see this on a daily basis. This is also something which takes a very big toll on the mental well-being of the victims, especially the women. So what happens is, suppose there is a affair that has gone wrong. It could be a consensual relationship between a boy and a girl, and maybe things didn't end on a good note. So there are things that are done by the boy for taking so-called revenge on the girl, posting intimate pictures on the internet, shaming her, having personal attacks. And similarly, if you see in the cyberspace, in all the social media accounts, if a post is by a woman, you see a lot of personal attacks, a lot of body shaming, a lot of name calling against women. So this has to stop. So, and this can stop only if each one of us decides that, no, this is not a thing that is acceptable, and this is not a thing that can be tolerated. So this is something which each one of us can do, and I would request the audience to be cognizant of these facts, and if there is any kind of difficulty, any kind of abuse, any kind of danger, even if something, you're feeling uncomfortable about a way you're not feeling safe, you should feel free to approach the police, and there will be every possible assistance that will be extended to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, there is a question, an audience question. Dr. Pomila Baro, Tangla College, Tangla. Either in society or within the family, decisions of women are not given a priority. So what may be the reason? The whole idea of having the decision-making power, be it political, social, or in this terms, the personal decision-making power. So how can we approach this entire issue of taking back the decision-making power or respecting the decision-making power of the women?
Yeah, this I agree. This is a very, very real issue, because if you see, I mean, there are a lot of surveys that have been conducted. Suppose a woman is educated and she wants to take up a job. So your decision whether to take up a job in a particular city or not depends. I mean, that is largely determined by your gender. So if you're a male and you're educated, you don't think twice about your place of work. I mean, you wouldn't think twice about going to a different city or a different place and working. Whereas if you're a woman, this is a very key point in your decision making. So, and even in the financial decisions of the house, we see that a lot of time the woman is not included in the decision making, even though a lot of unpaid care household work is indeed done by the woman. So one thing that is important is education. So once you are educated and you are financially independent, that gives you a say in matters, because I mean, we have to be practical in understanding that a lot of decisions in the household is taken on the basis of who controls the purse strings, right? So traditionally, this role has been that of a man, and because the purse strings are controlled by men, the decisions are also controlled by men. But this has been changing. I wouldn't say as much as we would want it to change, but yeah, there is a positive change. So one thing is, you should have control over your own money. You should have the financial decision-making power and the knowledge. It should not be that you earn your salary, you put it in an account, and let's say your father, your husband, or somebody else makes those decisions for you. If it is your salary, you should have the confidence to decide. Educate yourself on investment options, educate yourself on spending options, educate yourself on how to grow your money, not just how to earn money, on how to grow your money. So it cannot be an overnight change, because this is something that has been entrenched over generations and generations. This is almost like a cultural thing. So for this patriarchy to change, it will take some time, but each of us can actively work towards this. And we can all make sure that we take our own financial decisions. So that is a step forward in making sure that you are a part of the decision making in the family.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for tackling the issue. And we would like to know, as this is a practical, many our audiences have asked regarding it, that books to refer to when preparing for APSc and UPSC prelims and mains. So it's like a practical thing. They are taking this opportunity to get all this knowledge, and maybe they're writing it down right now, that what books to really study when tackling these civil services.
Okay. So I took the exam almost 7 years back, and civil services is something which is very, very dynamic. So I mean, I wouldn't like to give you a book list, or I wouldn't like to give you 1, 2, 3. What I'll just give you a general perspective. So if you look at the syllabus of UPSC, what it says is that they're looking for well-educated people, right? So now, what is well-educated? What it means is that you need to be aware of things that are happening around you. You need to have an opinion about things that impact the country, that impact your immediate locality, that impact the country and the world on a larger scale. Like, you need to understand the big picture of things that are happening. So how do you get this awareness? You need to be aware of things through reading newspapers, through reading good quality newspapers, and keeping yourself abreast of the happenings in the country, and forming opinions about it. Other than that, if you look at the syllabus of UPSC, there are so many websites that give you this book list. So, I mean, that's fairly common across platforms. So any of the websites you refer, you should be able to get a fair idea of the book list. But if somebody wants to start preparing, what I would recommend is religiously and sacrosanct. Reading the newspaper is very, very sacrosanct. So that has to be done very, very systematically. And you need to form your opinion on current happenings in the country.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. There is a very pointed question, regarding the issue, and like the Commandant Dixit from Dibrugarh has asked, I want to know which part or provision of the Constitution stops the officers on duty to arrest and encounter or give a death sentence to rapists. Because due to these loopholes of the Constitution, the crimes aren't taken seriously by the culprits. We have two images, like obviously the Delhi gang rape case, and then the Andhra Pradesh government encounter case, both of the same nature, but the action taken against them have different impacts on the society. So basically, the impact of the punishment that is meted out to crimes or to criminals such as rapists and so on and so forth. So what are the maybe a general idea of the provisions that there are may help our audiences.
So the Constitution is the basic book on which the country is run, right? Everything that is done, every law that is made has to conform to the basic structure of the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is a wonderful document which ensures that there is a right to life and liberty of every single individual. It is a document which ensures that human rights are protected, be it of the victim, be it of the accused, be it of anybody. Because at the end of the day, human rights cannot be subjective. Everybody is a human. Everybody is entitled by the virtue of birth as a human being to those human rights. Now, different crimes are punished on the basis of something called the Indian Penal Code. So there is the IPC. Everybody would have heard of the IPC. It is written in 1860, the Indian Penal Code. So that decides what is the punishment for different crimes. So in IPC, there is a section which defines what rape is, and there is a section which defines what the punishment for rape is. Now, in that, there is a provision for death penalty. There is a provision saying that death penalty can be provided under certain conditions of rape, say if it is a gang rape, or there is a special provision called the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. So that is a special law that has been created to deal with crimes against children. Any kind of sexual abuse of children, both girls and boys, that is dealt under POCSO. Now, what the Constitution prescribes is something called the due process of law. Any law that is created and any action that is taken by the law enforcers in accordance with the law has to be as per the procedure established by law and the due process of law. Now, you talked about I do not want to talk about specific cases or specific encounters. There is a reason why there is a criminal justice system in the country. Now, there are different components of this criminal justice system. When a crime is reported to the police basically carries on the investigation of the crime, understands what the facts and circumstances of the crime is, and does certain things through scientific aids, through various procedures that are prescribed in the law. The procedures are prescribed in the Criminal Procedure Code, which is again based on the Constitution, to ensure that nobody is denied their fair investigation, right? Because if it was as simple as just encountering a person, anybody can accuse somebody else of committing a crime. So there is a reason why there is a criminal justice system, so that nobody is denied a fair procedure. Now, once the investigation is completed, the police report goes to the court, and the court carries on a trial. And it is the court which decides what is the quantum of punishment, what is the amount of punishment that is to be given to a particular accused person. Now, the basis on which the entire criminal justice system is based is innocent until proven guilty. You cannot assume that suppose a person A accuses person B of a crime. I will not automatically assume that the person B has committed the crime. There has to be a fair procedure that has been established by law that has to be followed. All the evidence has to be collected against this person. That evidence has to be presented in a particular format to the honorable court, and then the court decides the punishment. So rather than talking about particular cases, what we should ensure and what the system tries to ensure is that the process of investigation is fair and the process of trial is fair, so that not even a single innocent person is punished and the guilty do not go scot-free and justice is served at the end. So that is how the entire process is established.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, adding to it or in line of this entire explanation that you have given us, the entire concept of victim shaming and in terms of violence against women or cases against women, the idea of victim shaming and victim blaming, like if there has been a sexual assault case against women, like what were you wearing, why did you go out so late, and so on and so forth. So much questions are put forward to the women, like the onus is on her to prove that no, you were not like the assaulter was not wrong, you were wrong to go out.
Yes.
That kind of mindset. So how do we tackle this kind of mindset?
So this is a very real problem. This also, I mean, this is seen everywhere, this victim blaming and victim shaming, because of which victims are reluctant to come forward and report the crime. So this is a very dangerous thing, because until and unless the crime is reported, we will not know that a crime has been committed, right? So I mean, everybody must have watched this movie Pink. It is very nicely portrayed in this movie. Even in the cross-examination in the court, the victims are asked, why did you go with that boy? If you are from a good family, why did you go out so late at night? ऐसे वाले कपड़े क्यों पहने थे? रात को अकेले क्यों घूम रहे थे? So this is something which as a society we need to work on. This is something that it needs to be inculcated. So this is all a new conversation that is happening, and there is a lot of learning and unlearning that is happening. This needs to be ingrained right from the time that this is something which every parent should inculcate in their children. Not अभी तो हम बोलते हैं लड़कियों को कि तुम रात को बाहर मत जाओ. At the same time, like the onus, like you said, is on the women to ensure their own safety. But no, the boy should be brought up in the manner that you need to respect a woman as a fellow human being. You should not just, her only identity is not that of a woman. You have to look at a woman beyond a gender role. So this is something that a change has to come from within. Like this is something which is a very, very slow glacial process, but something that should be taught in schools, that should be taught in homes. The way till now the focus has always been on raising the girl children right, but no, we should focus on having a partnership between the boys and the girls. Everybody is responsible for making a person feel as a complete human being, not that a person is disadvantaged because she's a woman or a girl. So unless we create this kind of conducive atmosphere, women will not be ready to come forward and report a crime. I mean, even in acid attack cases, there have been instances where the girl has been blamed, saying you rejected his advances, that is why you were attacked. So this conversation has to change. So law is only one part of it, but in this, everybody is a stakeholder. Every single person in the society is a stakeholder. This needs to be a part of the school curriculum. Teachers need to tell the students that this is the onus of keeping the woman safe is not just on her. The crime is being committed by a man on the woman, right? So the man should make sure that this crime is not committed. So this has to be a partnership. It cannot be on just a single stakeholder of the society.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And there's a question, like in relation to it, you talked about education, and also there's a question by Jodumoni Gogoi from Tengaghat College, and has asked two questions, but I'll combine it. That the role of education in women empowerment and also in tackling gender intolerance. The role that education plays, according to you, the role that education plays in achieving women empowerment and in tackling gender intolerance.
So I think that education is the most important component, because education, so if you see, let's talk about, let's say the age of marriage, right? So from the 60s, I think maybe it was around, say, 15 years. And now I think the average age for women to be married has increased to around maybe 21, 22. So this is a very, very positive sign. And how has this been achieved? One very important factor is education. So education ties up a lot of these things. The earlier question about the ability to make your own decisions, the very positive sign which we have seen over the years is the increased rate of enrollment for primary education. And we have seen the rate of dropouts reducing. So if there is education, the age of marriage automatically increases because you are in school for a longer period of time. You don't drop out. The chance of a woman participating in the labor market, like being employed, is more if you are educated, because you have the skills to be employed. The more you are employed, the more money you earn, the more financial independence you have, the more empowered you are, because you can take your own decisions. So this becomes a very virtuous cycle. So I suppose there is a household and a child sees both the parents working. So it is a very great role model for the kid to see his or her mother working. So this automatically, the kind of image that the child has about a woman is automatically changed, as in not just as a household provider, not just as a homemaker, but somebody who can go and earn their living outside in the world. So what happens is, if there is education, you learn to stand up for your rights, you learn to speak up for yourself, it gives you confidence, and basically you just are able to tackle life in a much, much better manner than if you're uneducated. So formal education is important, gender education is very, very important, and this automatically reduces his intolerance. You learn to identify, like I said, there's a lot of learning and unlearning involved. So a lot of things we automatically internalize because of socialization. We don't even realize that it's something, patriarchal. Like, for example, I mean, there's something called, male entitlement. If both the mother and the father are working and both of them come home, it is automatically assumed that the woman goes to the kitchen and does the household work, right? So these are things that education will, kind of make you realize, okay, so both of them are working. Why is the household chore also not divided? Why are these particular gender roles ascribed to just the woman? So that way, education is very important in broadening your horizons and to make sure that, you can stand up for yourself and you have the confidence to stand up for yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, adding on to this, there is another question of Vishnu Sarkar, Pitambar Deva Goswami College, Majuli, from your district itself. So, he has asked that the expression of sexuality, but only sexuality is mentioned, but I would rather add the expression of gender, sexuality, and gender roles, as you have already said, does or is it affected by the process of socialization? Because as education is involved, so is peers. You get peer groups. You get peer school. When you go to school, you have school friends, then college, and then the higher education, so on and so forth. And in the workforce, you have your peers. So how does this socialization impact or affect the final outcome of your sexuality, expression of sexuality, expression of gender roles, and expression of the gender spectrum, or what you identify with?
Right. So this socialization is something which is very detrimental, not just for the women, but also for the men, right? Like now, since we are talking about a spectrum, so there are certain things because of this ascribed gender roles. There is a particular way that society expects not just girls to behave, but also the boys to behave. So since gender is a very social thing, it's not sex, right? Sex is either you're born a male, you're born a female, whereas gender is something that society ascribes to you. So there is this whole, you could be a trans person, you could be a cis person. So that is why vocabulary is also evolving today. I mean, people can identify as he or him, she or her, they or them. So it is what not just society has ascribed because you're born as a female. Maybe you're born as a male, but you want to express yourself as a female, or you are born as a female but you are bisexual. So there is this whole spectrum of things that are coming up today, and we need to not just evolve this vocabulary, but we need to have the freedom to express this. So in the traditional socialization roles, a man is expected to be very hard. You should mard ko dard nahi hota hai, boys will be boys. Because of these things, it leads to a very inflated ego, which is actually not, it becomes a very fragile ego. So this fragile ego it manifests itself in relationships, in several relationships, because if you talk from the point of view of the male, so let's say two people, a girl and a boy are going out, it is always expected that the boy will pay, like the male will pay, right? In fact, even I have experiences that when I go out to a restaurant with my husband, invariably the waiter comes and gives the bill to my husband, even though if I am the one taking out the credit card, right? So I'm sure everybody has experienced this. So this is because of this ascribed gender role, right? That the male is the bread earner and the female is the taker of that benefit. And because of this, men are expected to be very macho and masculine, and let's say a particular boy is there who doesn't really like sports, and maybe he likes the so-called more feminine parts. He's made to feel left out. He's made to feel like a misfit. Similarly, this is something which is very commonly heard, like, if there is a particular girl, thankfully in the Northeast, in Assam, it is not this way, that I see a lot of girls also who are very athletic, who are very fit. But in certain other parts of the country, if a girl is athletic, they say, despite being a girl, despite being a woman. So yeah, so and these things like, you don't throw like a girl, don't play like a girl. So this like a girl, or if a boy cries, these are things that we probably even unintentionally say, like if a girl is paying, they say, who wears the pants in the house? Or if they say that, if a boy cries, they say, ladki ho kya, kyun ro rahe ho? So these kind of things, this is very fatal to the confidence of both the boys and the girls. So that is why these kind of conversations are very, very important, to break these taboos, that a boy can also have emotions, a girl can be tough. So you cannot constrain the entire identity of a person to just the gender of the person.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Actually, adding to the whole idea of gender roles and the as you said, the emergence of the toxic masculinity, the vocab, as you said, vocabulary has really brought about it. This Hantipra Dolo from Dimoria College, Khetri, then she has said that as you have also mentioned, that in not any states in Assam, that you don't find that the discrimination that you have seen in some other parts of the country. So is it like she has particularly mentioned certain states, but I would refrain from mentioning them. I would just generally say that can these states, or can the areas where discrimination is very prominent, can they learn something from any states and Assam, and can they try to emulate how lifestyle here is in terms of gender equality? Can it be done, or can this be propagated?
Right. So this learning is a very, very slow process, right? Because this is a cultural thing. This is something which is evolved over years and years. But yes, that can be expedited if each person in that area has to think for himself, right? Like, suppose every parent has to think that, okay, just because she's a girl, I will not stop her higher education. If there are resources, that will be divided equally between the boy and the girl. So this is a very, very slow process, and there are cultural changes that need to be brought about. There are a lot of policies of the government that have actually helped in, like, there is a Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Andolan, the program is there. Then nowadays there is a lot of support, entrepreneurship, to improve women entrepreneurship. There is a lot of microfinancing support that is given to the women. Self-help groups are formed, and these are things. Recently, the Supreme Court had passed a judgment for equal co-parcenary rights for the daughters as well as the sons. So these are things that help in moving beyond the culture of a particular place, so that there is no inequality between the girl and between the woman and the man in terms of access to opportunities.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, from the University of Delhi, we have Achyut Krishna Hazarika. And it is a question to actually, it was for the general panelists, but I'll put it up to you. Basically, Achyut Krishna Hazarika has said about all the recent studies that have been done, and they have found that in the pandemic situation, how the PM of New Zealand and the CM of Kerala and so on, they performed so well in this pandemic situation in tackling the COVID-19 situation, and so many women leaders have emerged in times of these needs. So globally, women are being recognized as a force to reckon with, where she can take tough decisions politically and socially. His question is very pointedly, in India as a country, have we somehow lacking in actually realizing the actual worth of women in our home country? And if so, is it because we are just relegated being the weaker sex, or as the term was earlier used, the fairer sex or the weaker sex? Is it due to that? Because why are we not realizing the full potential of women in a country? This question. This is how Achyut Krishna Hazarika thinks that we are not realizing the total potential of women in our country. What can we do?
Yeah. So, like I said in the beginning, we have a long way to go, but we have progressed a lot. I mean, it is very unfair not to acknowledge the great progress that we have made over the years. And the progress that we have made over the years has been made possible because of the sacrifices, because of the obstacles that our earlier generation of women have overcome, because of the prejudices that they have overcome. So this term that was used, the weaker sex, so that is, I mean, the society has evolved, right? The society has changed. In earlier times, men are considered generally physically stronger than women because of biological reasons, even though, that has been challenged in several fields now. So to succeed in today's society, physical strength is not important, right? Because what we need today is more of an intellectual strength, more of a creative strength, more of innovation, more of something which is beyond the physical realm. So this concept of weaker sex is no longer prevalent, because physical strength is not your marker of success in any field, right? So women have come a long way. And yes, I agree that there is still a very, very long way to go. But there are, like, I'll just talk about the police. For example, on a, let's say on a countrywide basis, in the police, maybe around 8 to 9% of the police force is women. But there are policies, even in Assam, we have reservation for women at the recruitment stage. So this is a very, very positive step, so that more and more women participate in the decision-making process. They are a part of the police force. So this situation is changing, and it is changing for the better. We have a long way to go, but to realize the potential, like I said, education is very important, and there are steps and policies and reforms that are being done to encourage this. So it's a slow process. Different societies are in different stages of development. So it is not really apples to apples comparison if we take a country like New Zealand and talk about a country like India. So everybody, be it the political leadership, be it the society, people are trying to bring about reforms for improving the participation of women and improving the, be it in the labor force, be it in education, different fields, and women have excelled. So this kind of virtuous cycle, like women see other women excelling, and this is an encouragement for them to break their shackles and come forward. So this kind of virtuous cycle will what will help in realizing the complete potential.
Thank you, ma'am. On this very positive, very optimistic note, we'd like to thank you for being with us here today and really inspiring. Actually, actually inspiring and telling them what books to read to our viewers and audiences. Thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure knowing that the people in power, women in power, are actually working towards changing the entire face and the roadmap of how women are being perceived in various fields across the country and across various professional fields that we may say. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us with us today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me. Good evening.
Again, there's the news here that Shri Pushparaj sir will not be able to join us because he had to leave for Merapani, Nagaland border due to a slight emergency that is arisen there. We know that in these professions we have these emergency situations that keep cropping up. He's really regretful that he could not join us here today, but I think our two panelists have really helped us in understanding the issue of the women empowerment and the gender intolerance that we are facing. And most of the questions and queries of the audiences have been in some capacity, if not fully, they have been addressed. And I hope that this was a fruitful session. Before we conclude and before we go about, because there was this technical difficulty that the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Assam Women's University was not able to join us earlier. So if I may ask our technical team to see if again, for maybe a few 2 to 3 minutes, if we can get the connectivity, if we can just have her, because she herself a Vidwan, a Pandit in her own right. So we really love to have ma'am say a few words to the audiences. I'd request if the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Ma'am, Professor Malini Goswami is present, I'd request the technical team to kindly connect us with Goswami, Ma'am. Okay, the technical difficulties did not seem to mitigate. They are still there. So moving on, we'd move forwards towards the conclusion of today's program. And before we move on, we really have to express our gratitude and thank you to few people who have really been with us and guiding us throughout this program, throughout this session. First and foremost, the audiences, thank you so much for joining us today, that you all have, and I hope that you all have enjoyed this session and at least have learned or maybe the food for thought, or will think about the gender roles and the women empowerment and the whole gender spectrum in general. I'd also like to thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Assam Women's University, Professor Malini Goswami. I'd like to thank artist, journalist, and youth leader Rishikesh Bhattacharjee for his continuous guidance in conducting this lecture series cum webinars. I also extend my gratitude to Ashlekha Pathak. I would like to thank the organizers, Partha Pratim Datta, Abhilash Borwa, and Palash Ranjan for organizing such a wonderful program. And may I add, such a fruitful discussion. For more information and for more such lively sessions, do stay connected with Imagix Creative Studio and be sure to show your support by spreading the word. Thank you and have a great night. Thank you.